In this video, I'm showing how my dad and I made this 16 by 24 foot sawmill shed with plans that we found online for 12 bucks. I'm going to show you how we milled our own lumber to then put in the roof on as the snow started falling. I started the project by designing the sawmill shed myself. First I started with a really small one and then started working on a larger one. But then my dad found these plans online for a 24 by 16 shed for only 12 bucks. So we decided to just go with that because it was pretty cheap and the plans had a full parts list, which saved us a ton of time. We milled all the posts and the beams from red pine trees that we had on our land. One of them got hung up, so we had to get creative.
Yeah. Oh. Oh yeah.
For the foundation, we marked it out with strings, figured out where each hole should go, and then to dig the holes, we decided to rent a two-person auger, but this didn't really go as planned. We have a lot of roots. The flutes of the screw ended up getting stuck underneath some of the roots. So then when my dad and I went to lift it out, the auger was stuck on them. There's no back drive, so we ended up having to dig the auger out.
Nice.
Be careful with the auger. You might just want to dig them out by hand. That's what we ended up doing. Once 6 holes were dug to 2 feet, we cut the tubes for the concrete on a table saw. And slid them into the holes. We brought the strings back out and we made sure all the tubes, the tops of the tubes were at the same height. Because once the concrete's poured, then the footings will sit on the concrete at that same height.
Mixing time.
When you're pouring concrete, you gotta move fast. And my dad and I, we had a process. He was watching the concrete, folding it over, making sure it's mixing smoothly, and then I was adding the bags of concrete. And then we went hole by hole, filling up each tube. We ended up using 16 bags of concrete. For the foundation, we decided to go with these concrete footings that I found on Amazon. This wood we're using isn't treated, so we didn't want to have it in the ground where it can get moist and start to rot. We waited a bit for the concrete to thicken up for us to put the fittings in without them sinking. At this point, we got the string back out to figure out where the posts need to go. We knew the tubes weren't exactly centered, so then we used the strings to make sure the footings were directly in line with the string. While the concrete was setting, we went back through and cut the posts, braces, and beams to length. We wanted to prep all the parts ahead of time, so then on the day of the build, we could just focus on building and not all this other stuff. posts and the beams didn't have enough time to dry before we wanted to construct the structure, but this wasn't as important because for such a large build, a bit of shrinkage isn't going to mess with the tolerances that we're working at.
Flip it over. Yep.
For building the structure, I had two friends come up because we're going to have to lift three 16-foot long beams into place, and we only had 1 day to do it.
The first post is going in. Oh yeah, I feel like those guys in World War II raising the flag.
I feel like I'm at Iwo Jima.
These beams here were about 12 feet long.
Nice.
It was really nice to have my two friends there because we could put them to task, and then my dad would work ahead looking at the plans, trying to figure out what we needed to do next, and then I'd kind of go through, help my friends, give them a hand, but then jump back, help figure out the plan with my dad, and then just do whatever other side thing that had to be done in the meantime.
It's a lot easier to start them when they're laying down like this than it is when they're up there. God damn, that is beautiful.
These beams here were about 16 feet long.
Make sure it's... No, not that one.
You missed me by an inch.
Noise.
We got a cross beam. Hold on a second.
Nailing in these brackets for the joists.
Oh no, this is a fucked up nail.
Oh,
We need a different nail.
Okay, I'll get you a straight one.
Those things are so funny.
Wait,
They're
wait,
they're
Andrew, let me
50
come
fucking
help.
pounds.
You're not gonna be able to do that by yourself.
You want to bet?
Not. All right, you proved me wrong. Just throw it.
Nice. Oh, that one went right in. Hello.
Putting the structure together actually went pretty smoothly. Everything ended up being a lot more level and square than we could have imagined. For the roof, we decided to buy treated lumber because we're going to have cut a lot of wood to make the rafters and the purlins, but we started running out of time. Our goal was to get this done before the first snowfall, and it was about the end of October, so we had to start moving.
Here's the structure with, not the roof. Look how slippery this one is. All ice up here.
We started by working on one face of the roof. We put one panel down, and then you want to make sure this one is as straight as possible because that first one sets how the other ones lay. So if you're off by a little, you're going to go down the wrong direction and not do a good job at keeping it straight.
There's a bunch of snow up here already. I know we didn't quite make our goal of getting the roof on for the first snowfall, but we're pretty dang close. So you know why they call it self-tapping? These ones, you gotta tap them yourself.
Once the panels were in place, it was time to put the crown on top. I ended up having to straddle the roof because the gauge of aluminum we got was pretty thin, so I couldn't just stand on the roof like you usually could. And as I was straddling the roof, putting the crown on, some snowflakes started coming down. And I think at this point it was like 10 degrees out, so it was pretty cold, but it was pretty cool seeing the snow coming down and seeing these awesome flakes.
Oh man, only 2 more screws to go. Then it's over. It's kind of bittersweet, but just knowing like now this is done and I can start on whatever I want to work on next is, well, actually wait, yeah, it's like sinking in now.
when I was up there putting on the finishing touches, I actually started feeling a little bit emotional because my dad and I put all this time in to work on this project, and it just felt so satisfying to be completing it. And it was kind of beautiful from up there. I can see the cabin and our garage, and I can really feel how I'm going to start changing this land as we go on in the future. And I'm really excited, and this felt really good to complete. I made this summary video because I really wanted to get something out to show you what I've been working on, but my goal is to make a series of videos that go more in depth about each part in making this shed. So if you're curious about any specific part, ask me in the comments, and I'll try to answer your question, but then maybe down the road I'll also make a video that will answer your question. So if you want to see those videos or even suggest more content about the sawmill and stuff, let me know in the comments. And yeah, don't forget to like and subscribe. And thanks for watching this video. I hope you enjoyed it. Have a nice day.